Let's have some fun. Ricky O'Donnell, a guy who I've been trying to contact for a long, long time, finally responded. I'm kidding, Ricky. But I do hit you up quite a bit on Twitter, talking hoops. Love your NBA coverage, your NBA draft coverage, your college basketball coverage. It's been elite for a very long time. We're both from the Chicagoland area. So, Ricky O'Donnell, SB Nation, writer, editor, associate director of programming, a true hoop head, and he probably stays up too late watching late night NBA. Did you watch Warriors? Was it Warriors Kings last night?
I could not make it up for that one, but definitely caught up on it this morning. Harrison Barnes revenge
Crazy,
game, you gotta love it. But
crazy,
uh,
crazy.
yeah,
I think Jimmy was guarding him too, so it was even more crazy. So we'll get into your article about the NBA draft. You just dropped another article today about impactful rookies. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well. Really quick, what do you think of the Luka trade? It's hilarious that we're still talking Luka trade. I think we'll talk Luka trade for the next 10, 15, 20 years because I'm still like confused on that trade. I still don't understand it. What do you think of the Luka trade and what transpired last night? He was very emotional in his return, and then he put up 45 big ones versus the Mavs.
yeah, I think it would have been like funny if it happened to anybody else but the Lakers. And because it's the Lakers, the immediate reaction is like a swift eye roll because it's always the Lakers in every era of the league, whether it's them getting Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem, you just go on and on over the years of how do the Lakers just consistently land generational stars for nothing. And like most of us sit here and we're like, how could we get Santi Aldama on the Bulls? That would be a good player to get, but it doesn't really seem realistic. And then when you're a Lakers fan, you just get Luka Dončić for free, basically. So it's still as mind blowing now as it was in the moment when it happened. I certainly had the reaction of like, certainly this can't be a real trade. I somehow got a fake text alert from Shams. How did this happen? The way that the Mavericks have just crumbled in the wake of the trade is truly just karmic justice in every single way. So, we'll see if Luka can lead the Lakers to championships during his time there. Will his body fall apart? The same way Joel Embiid's has sort of over the last year. Will the Mavericks be justified at any point in history in doing this deal? I mean, it's way too early to say, but like most things, I think this came back to money. The Mavericks did not want to pay him whatever his supermax contract would be, probably close to, $500 million. They just didn't think he took the game seriously enough. And it's funny? I was looking back at some of like my data from what I wrote about last year, and one of the things I wrote about during the finals last season was one game where Luka's defense was particularly bad and everyone was just like on his ass for it. And I just wrote like a little story about that. I don't even remember doing it now. But I just think that like that idea probably never escaped the mind of Nico Harrison and Jason Kidd. I fully think Jason Kidd had to be on board with this. Uh, Otherwise, a trade like this doesn't happen. And it's still totally indefensible. It's one of the worst sports trades I can ever remember, but um, yeah, it's like it's never going to make any sense. I can see why they did it, mostly because of money, but also like these guys just have this vision of like how things should be, how athletes should carry themselves. And Luka didn't do it in a sense. But you know what? That's what made him great. The fact that he could be smoking hookah and slamming beers and still drop 50 on your ass and talk shit to all the fans courtside was like a perfect distillation of what made Luka special and what, we as viewers all wish we could do in that moment. Just have that type of special ability. So wild stuff. Last night was fun. Luka was amazing. And it was cool to see him get in the zone because in his previous game against the Mavericks in LA, it just seemed like he was pressing too much and like never really got into a rhythm. They were doing a good job getting the ball out of his hands with traps. And in this game, he was just killing it right off the bat, just like bombing threes. It was everything that makes Luka great. So it was fun to watch.
I wish I could watch. I told you I work Mully and Haw, so I'm asleep or I'm asleep by 8 o'clock these days. It's no fun. Love the show.
Oh
Love working
yeah,
with the score though. I'm sure you're a big score guy as well. Um,
yeah.
to go to talk more about that trade, I don't want to stick too much on it. I want to talk draft with you. But like the new ownership and the new venture capitals, you know what I mean? It's just a little different. I think Steve Kerr alluded to it. My guy Jackson, who works at the Volume, had a tweet that went crazy last night. It was just the venture capitalism, the new venture capitalism of the NBA, and how they don't want to pay Luca 500 million because he's maybe a little pudgy. But so I do think it's the bad owners. He doesn't know ball like we do. And then I'm curious about AD and Kyrie's future. I don't have their contract information in front of me, but I think Kyrie's a free agent next year. Maybe AD can opt out, stuff like that too. So it could, it's already bad. It could get even worse.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically hopeless after the Kyrie ACL tear. Like they did
Crazy.
that trade. They said part of their justification was, well, we think we have a better chance at winning the championship this year. First of all, that reasoning is completely insane. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But the fact that now Kyrie is out with the ACL, like that'll take him away from next year too. And like best case scenario, he comes back like at the end of the season next year. But Kyrie's also in his 30s. Like it would be difficult to imagine that he's going to bounce back
Yeah.
super quickly and like be effective right away after the ACL tear. So honestly, at this point, they should just trade Anthony Davis
Yeah.
because Kyrie, like your timeline for this being a competitive team has just been totally wiped away by the Kyrie injury.
Mhm.
And I don't think that they're going to really get a championship run now with AD, which was the only thing that could have sort of saved this trade. Was like, well, we did make the NBA Finals or hypothetically win the championship with Anthony Davis and Kyrie. Like that's over because of the Kyrie ACL tear. And, just so fitting that Anthony Davis gets hurt in his very first game in the middle of a totally dominant performance with the Mavericks. It's like this is the entire Anthony Davis experience
Crazy.
distilled into one game. So I think the Mavericks are just completely done. And they might as well just trade AD at this point
And move to
because
Vegas, and then move to Vegas while they're at it too, right?
they're
Kyrie's what, 35, you think, when he returns from fresh?
no, he's younger than that right now. I think he's like 32 right
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
Let's Google it. Kyrie is 33.
But
He
like that's
just
what I'm
turned
saying. He comes
33. So
back as a
yeah, I mean he'll be
35,
34
right?
in March. Yeah, exactly. Something like that. So
All right. So you mentioned Anthony Davis trade. I'm kind of skipping around here. We'll get to your draft, I promise. Anthony Davis trade. I'm a Bulls fan. You're in Chicago. Jokic is also hanging out there too. I saw a report, or I saw maybe an odds book or a sports book, an odds maker say the Bulls are the if Denver trades Jokic, the Bulls are the favorites because of his connection with AK Arturas Karnisovas. What would a trade for AD look like, or for Jokic? I think it's Giddey, Matas, and picks, and people are like, "No, we won't do that." I'm like, "Well, then you're not getting AD or Jokic."
yeah, I mean, for Jokic, it's definitely every pick you have available. And the Bulls do have all their picks now
Yep.
after making this trade. That's one thing EK said after doing the Zach trade is like, oh, we were hampered by our ability to trade picks in the future because we owed this one out that was protected. So you can't like trade picks in the future. So now that that's cleared up, I mean, yeah, they could hypothetically throw in 4 first-round picks, a bunch of pick swaps.
Hmm.
I would love to throw in Giddey in that deal because when Jokic is on the team, Jokic has the ball,
Yep.
and there wouldn't really be as much space for Giddey to do what he's doing. So, it's not gonna happen though. Like I
Yeah.
saw that article too today.
Sure.
People were like sending me that, like, oh, wouldn't this be crazy? The Bulls get Jokic. It's like I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
Jokic just also doesn't really seem to have the personality of a guy who's gonna like demand a trade.
Yep.
So I don't really know like where the Nuggets go from here. It's crazy. Their next GM is going to be straddled with the Jamal Murray contract. Michael Porter's still on kind of a rough deal. So they're going to have a lot of work to do, but it's like building a good team around Jokic shouldn't be that hard. He's like the best player at 3 positions, right? He's the best point guard in the league. He's the best center in the league, and he happens to be one of the best wing scorers in the league too. So I would not be counting on the Bulls getting Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
In terms of Anthony Davis, like, yeah, if you want to trade up 3 first-round picks or something to get Anthony Davis, sure. I wish the Bulls would have gone the other way and tried to get Cameron Boozer at the top of the 2026 draft
I
to
know.
try to
I
get
know.
like a
I know you
young
do. I know you
foundational
do.
star. But that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because they have no interest in tanking.
Yep.
So I actually do think the Bulls are going to make another big trade,
Yep.
trading multiple first-round picks for a star. I've been saying I think it'll be Domantas Sabonis,
Yep.
who seems like he's on the way out of Sacramento. He's put up an incredible season, but a Sabonis trade would just be doing the Vooch mistake all over again, I think, even though Sabonis is a better player right now than Vooch ever was. But like that trade doesn't do much for me if I'm the Bulls. So we'll see. I think that like they are setting themselves up to make a big trade though, just because they're not going to get a star at the top of the draft.
Yep.
We've seen Arturas trade multiple draft picks before in deals. So I'm
Yeah.
expecting that to happen. Now, can you get someone better than Sabonis? Anthony Davis would be cool. I still wish they would have, gone the other way and tried to do an actual rebuild, but Arturas doesn't have the patience for it. And when you don't have the patience for it, you are bound to rush into kind of a stupid move. So
Yep.
we'll see what he does.
Um, And the Bulls love trading with the Kings. You mentioned some bad contracts too. I would always point to those bad contracts on Jamal Murray. Uh, Obviously Bradley Beal. People would always had a problem with Zach LaVine's contract. I'm like, guys, there's so many other bad contracts out there. It's just they don't know ball like we do. But really quick, over under 5%, the Bulls trade for Giannis or Jokic. Over under 5%.
Under.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's get to your mock draft. NBA mock draft 2025 updated projection with college basketball season now over. Talking with Ricky O'Donnell of SB Nation. Awesome mock draft as usual. I'm sure you'll have a couple more coming up. The draft's in June, so we got a little bit more. And then we'll talk more about your impactful rookies as well. First question I have: if LeBron James is an A plus prospect, then what's Cooper Flagg? Is he an A? Is he an A minus? Is he a B plus?
Yeah, I'd probably give him an A. I think Cooper Flagg's amazing. I'm totally sold on him. I did an article recently on just like 5 NBA comparisons for Cooper Flagg. And, none of those guys were really like the top level guys. I had Scottie Pippen on there. I had Jason Tatum on there. I did not compare him to LeBron. But Flagg's amazing. And I thought that game against Houston was just a really good showcase of his talent. Like he was completely picking them apart in the first half as a passer. And that's really what sets Flagg apart from other guys. Like obviously he has great size for a four. He's got very impressive athleticism, shot 40% from three in the second half of the season after turning 18. But really it's like his brain is what's so good. He just always makes the right play. And he's able to like do these live dribble passing reads that like really are super rare for a guy who's 6'9" with a
Yeah.
7 foot wingspan. So I think Flag is a complete stud. Whatever team gets Flag is going to have a pathway to being a contender very quickly, I think, especially if he goes to an Eastern Conference team. He will probably face an adjustment period early in his rookie year. He really wasn't that good at Duke when he first enrolled at Duke. And then he turned 18 in December, which is the normal age for a freshman, and he was just killing everyone ever since. So I'm totally sold on Flag. I think Flag has a case as the best American-born prospect
Yep.
since LeBron. The only other guys I could think of who I'd put in that category are Anthony Davis at Kentucky and Zion Williamson at Duke. And he's not going to have the issues that Zion had. So, yeah, I think Flagg's the man. He's going to have an amazing career, and it'll be a very, very interesting lottery to see who comes away with him.
So you think if he goes to DC or Charlotte, you think he's going to turn them around pretty quickly, or like
I mean,
maybe
what's quickly,
top
right? I
10?
think within 3, 4 years, by the end of his rookie contracts, yeah, they should be able to. And now
Definitely.
those franchises are historically very mismanaged.
Yeah.
And
Terrible.
the NBA has really become a game of like who's the weakest link more than who's the strongest link, which is what it was when we were growing up. So those teams would have a lot of work to do. Like, would Charlotte trade LaMelo? And I'm a big LaMelo guy, but if I'm Charlotte and you get Flag, like I'm getting out of the LaMelo business.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm just like building
Yeah.
a team that's fully focused around Flag and not LaMelo taking 35-foot pull-ups. So maybe there's another Bulls star they could trade for,
Correct. Correct.
trade for
Uh,
LaMelo Ball.
Correct. I mean, as Bulls fans, we're just looking for anyone on the way out, just to hopefully add to the collection of talent. I think the Bulls are talented. I think you do too, but obviously not elite yet. Hopefully soon. You mentioned Egor of BYU, Egor Demin. I can't. I'm sorry for butchering his name. Egor, I'm a fan. Size, skills. You said he's the most Arturas Karnisovas pick ever. What do you mean by that? Is it because of his skills and talent and international appeal?
Yeah, I just feel like Arturis usually likes guys who are big with a good floor game.
Yeah.
Dalen Terry would check that box. He just likes guys who are like versatile. And I think that Demin sort of has that. I really don't like Demin. If the Bulls draft Demin, I'm gonna have a complete meltdown. Just because I think that he's like really soft
Oh, definitely.
and
Great floor game, like you said, for a
he's
big man.
right. Like you don't really see guys who are 6'9" who could dribble like that. So
Yeah.
I could like talk myself into Demin in a sense. I don't really know what role he plays
Yeah.
in the NBA though. Like he's not going to be a create like an advantage creator like off the dribble at all. Could he be like a connective passer in the front court and maybe play more of a forward role? Maybe, but I think he's going to get targeted on defense
100.
relentlessly because he's
Totally.
so skinny and he's just kind of like contact averse in general. So like, the idea of a 6'9" guy who could really pass sounds intriguing for sure. Uh, I think he'd have a lot of overlap with Giddey if the Bulls were to draft him. And I just don't like Demin at all. Like basically, he was so hot in the beginning of the season. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, this guy might be like amazing. He might be a top five pick. But as soon as he played real competition, you could just see like he didn't have the physicality to measure up. He basically just had to try to shoot threes to score in the half court, and he's just not a very good shooter yet. So he would be one of the guys I would not want to draft in this class, but all of the mainstream projections by ESPN and stuff still have him as a
Yep.
lottery pick, likely a top 10 pick. So he's going to go pretty high,
Yeah.
I think.
Yep.
And yeah, we'll see.
I agree. He's got some Giddy in him too, to be honest with you. I don't like you said, I think Giddy's just so strong with the ball, and Giddy's improved a ton the last couple of years as well. So there's plenty of room for growth in Igor as well. Has anyone come out of nowhere this year for you, like Jeremiah Fears? I've been as an Illinois prep basketball fan, I've known about the Fears family for a while. Derek Queens was a 5-star big man, one of the best prep big men in the country. So coming out of high school. Has anyone come out of nowhere for you this year? Maybe Walter Clayton Jr. is the guy that came out of nowhere for you.
Yeah, I would actually say Jace Richardson probably from Michigan State. I definitely did not anticipate that he would be a first round pick coming into this season. And he was just phenomenal. Like basically, he never played more than 25 minutes and he never started until the second week of February. And then finally, Tom Izzo realized he was the best player on the team. And ever since that point, he sort of carried them to what they make this year, the Sweet
Eight,
16, I
eight-ish.
think.
Yeah.
Do they make the
Eight-ish.
Elite Eight?
Yeah. Lost
Yeah,
to
maybe
Florida.
made the Elite Eight. So he was just by far the best player on the team. He reminds me quite a bit of Reed Shepherd last year at Kentucky,
Nice.
Jared McCain
Nice.
last year at Duke. Of like he's kind of an undersized two guard. He didn't play a lot of point guard. He didn't have really heavy usage, so that's like normally a little bit concerning. But he just knows how to play, shoots the shit out of the ball. I think he was like well over 40% from three, and
Yep.
just really knows how to like pick his spots in little pockets of the defense. So Jace Richardson, I did not anticipate being a lottery pick this year, and I think he absolutely has to be a lottery pick
He was awesome.
just because of the way he has a very additive skill set. He's someone who brings a lot to the table without really taking much off. He's very small, though. He also has a pretty concerning injury history going back to his time in high school playing alongside the Boozer twins.
Oops.
Uh, so his injury history is mostly focused on his knees. So I do wonder like how that holds
Yeah.
up as he gets older. What's he going to measure at? Is he going to measure at 6'2"? Is he going to measure at 6 foot? Like he's pretty small.
Yeah.
So I think that's another knock against him. But he was just really good this year, and I think, I did not anticipate he would be a lottery pick coming into the season, and now he's going to be one.
Great genes might explain for his IQ as well. Like he's been around
Oh
ball his
yeah.
whole entire life. Moving ahead to the 2026 draft. This is kind of a personal question for me because I love the top two at the 2026, AJ DeBonsa or Darren Peterson. A couple questions. Which one is your one, AJ DeBonsa or Darren Peterson? And are they better than Flagg? Because I think they might both be better than Flagg.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And then I'd throw Cameron Boozer in there too.
Okay.
I'd put Boozer closer to one than three.
Okay.
I had
What a
Boozer
class, though. What a
first.
class. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, really good class at the top. Just so frustrating that the Bulls have no interest in trying to add an elite young talent like that. It's just like such a no-brainer, especially in 2026. But it's the same story every year. So, yeah, I had Peterson eclipse Boozer the last time I wrote about this. Mostly just because Peterson's gonna have the ball in his hands always. I think Boozer is like he should have that role in the NBA, but it'll be interesting to see like if a team trusts him to do that and like will run their offense through a front court player in Boozer's terms. So for Peterson, he's just an absolute killer. I mean, he's got everything you want out of a
Unbelievable.
lead
Yeah.
guard. So big, so athletic, has the ball on a string in a way that most young players don't at that age, and just does a great job blending scoring with playmaking. So, yeah, I think Peterson is just going to be a killer next year at Kansas, and I'm hoping that Kansas can actually put a decent team around him because the last couple of years, Kansas has been playing basketball in a shoebox, like with Hunter Dickinson on the roster.
Terrible.
He'll be gone. It'll be Peterson's team throwing lobs to Flory Badinga next year, so
There you
that
go.
should be good. And I think, just Cameron Boozer is incredible. Like, I would love for the Bulls to get Cameron Boozer. It's just like a legacy pick. His twin brother Caden's awesome too, but You just can't argue with what those guys have done. I mean, they won four straight Florida State titles, three straight EYBL titles at every age group, 15, 16, and 17, multiple gold medals on USA Basketball. They just won the Geico Mythical National Championship. So it's all because of Cameron. I
Yeah.
mean, and Caden's great too, but like at every stop, the offense runs through Cameron. He's the focal point. He's the hub of the offense at every stop. So those three are just going to be killers next year. And I would expect Duke to be very good again.
Yeah. You haven't even
Devonta
talked about
BYU.
AJ. You haven't even mentioned AJ.
Yeah,
AJ's just
Devonta at BYU is in the best situation, probably of the three of
yeah,
them, if everything comes together at
yeah.
BYU. And BYU's throwing around like insane money right now in the transfer
They're
portal.
just
They're
buying, they're
apparently going to
buying
pay
everything. It's hilarious.
Rob Wright $3.5 million to
Yep.
come there from Baylor.
Yep.
That, hasn't happened yet, but it seems like it's probably going
It's
to
gonna, yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Devonta apparently got 5 million
Yeah.
at
I thought it
least.
was 8.
Yeah, there's been different, reports on it. And if you just watch BYU this year, they played such
Oh
like
yeah.
a space and
Big time.
pace friendly
Yeah.
offensive system behind their head coach Kevin Young, who was a longtime assistant coach for the Suns. So
Yep.
AJ should be able to step right in. I
Oh
think
yeah.
AJ's a phenomenal prospect for sure. The thing that I think separates Peterson and Boozer from AJ is just the mental side of the game. Whereas I trust Peterson and Boozer to be high level decision makers. AJ is a little bit more at this point of a play finisher than a play
Oh yeah.
creator.
Just
Like he's someone who's
unbelievable.
just so big and so
Yep.
fast
Yep.
that he's like a walking mismatch nightmare.
Awesome.
No
Yeah.
matter who you're guarding him
So much fun.
against.
Yeah.
But like as he faces more sophisticated coverages in college and in the NBA, like do you trust him to make the right read every time? Obviously, he's 18 years old.
Yeah.
He's going to get better at this stuff as he goes along. But when I talked about like Flag having the supercomputer brain, I'm not quite sure that AJ has that. Now, AJ is a better shooter and maybe a better athlete, so you can overcome
Yep.
all of that or some of that with those traits. But yeah, he's in a really good position, especially if Richie Saunders goes back to BYU next year, who's like a really good gravity inducing shooter for them. AJ should be able to step right in and just kill it next year at BYU. So all three of those guys are studs. I think it's going to
Yeah.
be an awesome race for
Awesome.
number one.
Yeah.
And Boozer will probably go three, and I would expect him to be pretty damn good if he goes
He's gonna be
three.
great. Yeah. I mean, Duke's gonna be great next year once again. Um, okay, so I am a Purdue fan. I'm a Saluki. My father went to Purdue. I was a Purdue fan before the Bears, before Michael Jordan, all that stuff. So, can in a world, do you think Braden Smith goes in the second round, or is he just undrafted next year?
I would think he'd come back to school.
That's what I'm saying, next year. So I have Purdue as number one, obviously. Houston's going to be great. They have an awesome recruiting class coming in. Obviously, I'm biased. I have Purdue number one. Do you think Braden Smith is a second rounder in 2026, or where do you have Braden?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Yeah, it's tough to say. He's such an amazing college player.
Yeah,
Like the way
great
he
player.
picked apart Houston in the Elite Eight was just
Crazy.
incredible. He
14
basically,
times against Houston, you know?
yeah, and he did it the whole game too, whereas Flag did it for like a half,
Yeah.
but Braden Smith was just making the right read every single time down the floor. So he's awesome. He's so small though. Like I
I
stood
know.
next to him
Yeah.
at in the Final Four last year. I covered the Final Four. I was talking to him quite a bit, and he's like probably 5'10",
Yeah.
if that, and he's so thin
170.
too. So yeah, there's just really like not space in the NBA for players that
Tiny.
size.
So small. I love him though.
But he's awesome.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, like second round pick, sure. I'll say he could go in the second round.
Yeah.
He's gonna face an uphill climb making it in the NBA because it's like, who's that guy gonna defend? And then NBA teams, it's always like, it's so hard to go from college superstar to NBA role player because somebody else is usually gonna have the ball in their hands. Like Braden Smith needs the ball, and
Yeah.
in the NBA, like the guys who have the ball are Luka, SGA,
6'9",
Jokic. Like
6'7". Yeah.
such a high bar to clear. So it'll be tough for him, but if anyone can do it, it's him, man.
He's great. A lot of fun. I love Purdue. TKR, Braden Smith, transfer coming in, Fletcher Lawyer, of course, too. So they're a top 5 team. A great coach, too. Okay, so Bulls fans keep saying, "Oh, I love Derek Queen. Wish the Bulls will get him." Not going to happen. Casper, I'm like, not going to happen. Jeremiah Fears, not going to happen. I like Will Riley. Is there any chance Will Riley falls to the 13-ish wherever the Bulls are? I'm a big Will Riley guy.
Yeah, he'll definitely be there.
He'll
And I
definitely. That's
actually
what I'm
do
saying.
think Jokić could be there too.
Okay.
Just because he ended the year pretty
Terrible.
terribly.
Yeah.
So I think that he could definitely slip outside of the top 10 to where the Bulls will be picking. Derek Queen, probably not
No chance.
anymore,
No chance.
I would say. Demin, I'm hoping will be gone, but he, I think, could still very well be on the board too. And then Riley, yeah. So I like Riley for sure. I mean, Riley, his talent is just evident when he walks into the gym.
I
Six
love
foot
him.
eight, just incredible shot making touch, uh, really good just pull up game. Like he's in a common NBA archetype that you always see, sort of the
Perfect.
microwave
He's
scorer,
perfect.
but
Yeah.
those guys are usually 6'3", not 6'8". So
Yeah.
that's sort of what sets him apart. He'd be definitely like a long-term play. Like his defense was very bad at the college level. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of how you get on the floor in the NBA as a young player is defensively. I think he's going to be totally overmatched there. But he's just got special skills in terms of being a scorer. So I wouldn't mind a Will Riley pick. I
I'm
think that
saying.
there will probably be a better pick for the Bulls. Two guys who I would like, if they're available, would be Noah Asengay, who's
Yep.
a forward out of France.
Yep.
He's just been super productive playing in a top, I think he's playing in the German league, like a top league this year. He's only like 2 or 3 days older than Flag. So he's basically been playing pro
Yep.
competition at a mega young age, a
Yep.
fresh 18-year-old, and he's been productive. And he can't really shoot or dribble. He kind of just makes energy plays, but he's 6'9". He's got a 9'3" standing reach. So he can offer you some like pretty serious rim protection inside too. And I feel like the Bulls always like an energy guy, like someone like Javante Green who just flies
Ah.
around and makes plays. Like Javante Green was like 6'4" though, so
Love,
Senge is
love
like
Javante.
a big, like a bigger version of that. I think he could be a pretty nice pick. And if you could teach him how to shoot, that'd be incredible. And then Colin Murray Boyle is just an advanced stat superstar, a 6'7" center who can't shoot. Who would ever want this guy? Well, he just completely dominates. Was on a terrible team in South Carolina, and every night in the SEC, he was giving the best teams in the country absolute hell to deal with inside. So strong, very quick, best defensive prospect in the class, or right there with Flag, I would say, defensively. And then an offense, like amazing passer. He's going to be a killer in the short roll, someone you trust to make decisions with the ball in their hands. And he's a pretty good scorer going to the basket because he's so strong. He's decently explosive. Just like such a high feel player
Yep.
too.
Yep.
And I think like if you would have him as your center, you need a forward next to him who's like a bouncy guy who can block shots, which Bazelis can do.
Yep.
So I like Asenge, Noah Asenge out of France, and I like Colin Murray Boyles out of South Carolina is two names for the Bulls outside of the top 10.
Is Boyle a soft or a
He was a
freshman?
sophomore this
Yeah,
year.
good, good. A little bit older, you know what I mean? So, quickly, running out of time. I've taken up too much of your time. Predict Giddey and Kobe's next contract. I think Kobe's going to be like Maxi. Giddey is going to be 3 for 90, something like that. What do you think for Giddey and Kobe's next contracts?
Yeah, for Giddey, I'll say 5 for 125.
Okay.
And that might be a team-friendly deal for the Bulls, or supposedly team-friendly, because it'd be 25 a year.
Yeah.
Giddey's definitely going to ask for 30 or 35.
Yep.
So we'll see. And then Coby, I have no idea. It's like the Bulls always just wait too long to make these moves. If they were going to trade Coby, they should have done it this year. Now he closed the year on an incredible tear, so like maybe his trade value will go up next season. But 1 year left on his deal. He's on a scam contract for 12 million, so you can't even extend him because
Yeah.
you can only extend him at 140% of his current
Yep.
offer. He's not going to take that.
No.
So yeah, what
That
will
Maxi
Kobe
deal, right?
get? Kobe
It'll be like,
signed such well, Maxi got a max, didn't
yeah,
he?
it's probably 5 for 150 or whatever it is. You know, what I mean? 4 for 150 or whatever.
Yeah, I would say Kobe will probably get 25 a year.
Yeah, both of those guys.
Um, so yeah, him and I think Giddey will probably get more than Kobe, but they can't extend Kobe. So Kobe's gonna have to go into next year as an unrestricted free agent unless he takes a low ball offer. So it'll be interesting to see like, do they shop him and try to trade him, or are they gonna be like, all right, we're ready to pay Giddey and Kobe $70 million combined? It's like, well, where's that gonna take you besides
To the
playing
plan, to the are we
tournament?
going to the plan
Uh,
or will the Bulls win one game versus Cleveland or the Cavs if they get there?
yeah, they can win one.
I agree. Let's
Hang the
get one.
banner.
Try to get two. You know what I mean? Okay. Like I said, running out of time, taking up a lot of your time. Check out Ricky's basketball content at SB Nation. Great stuff as always. NBA draft, NBA, college hoops, all of that. A true hoop head, Ricky. I've been following your stuff for a very long time. So awesome article today on the most impactful rookies, which was very surprising. I didn't know Donovan Cleveland was having such a good year. And I'm a big Zach Edey guy too. Any surprises when you were writing that article? Like I said, Cleveland kind of surprised me. Castle's going to win Rookie of the Year. McCain was awesome but got injured. Any surprises when you're doing research for
Yeah, I
that?
think just like really doing the deep dive into the statistics, like watching these guys all year long, I'm not really looking at like a statistical deep dive for all of them. So just seeing like, the Blazers
Yeah,
outscored their opponents with Klingon on the floor,
yeah,
pretty crazy because the
yeah,
Blazers are a sub 500 team in the Western
yeah.
Conference. And like a rookie normally doesn't have that type of impact, but he's probably already one of the best defensive big men in college basketball. On the flip side of that, somebody like Zachary Risachet, who's gotten a lot of positive publicity as the number one pick, 'cause he's had a few good offensive games in March down the stretch here. But like his impact numbers are just way worse. And
Yeah.
like he really hasn't graded out as an impactful player. I was never that high on him. I thought it was crazy that he went number one. I felt like the Hawks took the 10th best player in the class with the first pick. But I mean, if he becomes a knockdown shooter or an impact defender, you could see um sort of how they could arrive at him being the first pick. And then, yeah, I mean, I think that Holland and Bazelis have been really good. And like, I had those two guys 1, 2 on my initial
Yeah.
2024 draft board, which was published in June of 23, the day after the 23 draft. That was a class where, still it's like, who's the best player in this class? No, there was never any consensus on it. So I thought it was those two guys, and they were both horrible in the G League Ignite.
I was gonna say
And
they're both G League guys, right? Yeah.
yeah. And it just sort of shows that like you can't really overreact to a pre-draft year. You got to take the full picture into
Yeah.
consideration. Because I think both Holland and Bazelis have looked really good this year. So, 5 years from now, we'll see. Will those two guys be the best player in the class? Who will the best player? Who will be the best player in the class? I think you could name 10 different guys. You could say Reed Shepard, who didn't even play this year for the Houston Rockets. And that would be a totally legitimate pick. So it was a fun year for the draft just because like you could get crazy. Like I remember the first time I read someone say Zach Edey was the best prospect in the class. I was like, wow, this is
That's me. Yeah.
insane. And then you think about it and it's like, well, why not? He's the best college basketball player of the last 40 years. Like he's a monster in terms of his size and he's got really good touch. So I think that this is going to be a fun class to monitor going forward just because anyone could really emerge as the top guy. There's like 10 or more legitimate
Good class.
candidates.
Yeah. All right, Ricky. Last question. Most importantly, you're White Sox. I'm a Cubs fan. I'm a baseball dork too. So, will the Sox be worse this year than last year?
When last season ended, I predicted they would be worse in this year, but I don't know.
They're
They're two
back
and ten right
again.
now. Is that right?
What'd you say? Say it
They're
again.
they're like 2 and 10 right now.
Correct. Yeah,
Is that correct? So
they're
yeah, they're
worse right
already
now.
on.
Right now, they're worse. And Robert can't hit. I just don't understand what happened to him. I love him too. So,
Yeah, I'll say that they will find a way to be a couple games better, but it's going to be more of the same from the Chicago White Sox as the most pathetic North American sports franchise we have.
I think you agree with this as Chicagoans. We sold our soul to Michael Jordan and the Bulls in the '90s, and then we just haven't been good at anything since. So, I guess that's all I got.
That's right.
Ricky O'Donnell, thank you so much. Awesome coverage. SB Nation writer, editor, associate director of programming, a true hoop head, like I said. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, man.
Thanks, guys.